Well, here's a song called Crash Test. And leading up to the record, a friend of ours in New York, Adam Levy, had this sort of game where he'd email a bunch of songwriters and a title, and you had to write and record the song in 5 days. And so it was, and then you could go back and listen to what everyone turned in. But Garrison Starr turned in this title, Crash Test, and we were like, oh, that sounds like a cool one. So we wrote the song in about 45 minutes, I think. And this was probably the start of this pile where it was really like, yeah, this is. But 2, 3, 4.
I wanna ride with you, travel through space and time with you. I wanna ride with you, take a swim with you, deep down into the ocean with you. I wanna dive with you. I just gotta know. So come on, let's go. Don't wanna wait for you, baby. There's not enough time. I don't care if we don't make it. I just wanna try. I wanna crash test. I wanna crash test. We're going out of our heads. I'm gonna crawl straight up the wall with you. I wanna lose my mind with you. Wanna fly with you, straight up into the western sky with you. I'm so high with you. I just gotta know. So come on, let's go. Don't wanna wait for you, baby. There's not enough time. I don't care if we don't make it. I just wanna try. I wanna crash test. I wanna crash test. I wanna crash test. I wanna crash test. You know it, I know it. Everyone around us knows it's true. You're crazy, but I'm crazy too. I just gotta know. So come on, let's go. Don't wanna wait for you, baby. There's not enough time. I don't care if we don't make it. I just wanna try. I wanna crash test. I wanna crash test. I wanna crash test. Let's take a crash test. I wanna crash test.
Crash Test from the Mastersons, live in studio, on their way to Lucky Duck tonight. They were playing show starting at 7:30, and if you want more information about the show, or perhaps to get your tickets, and why wouldn't you want to get your tickets, they're available at McGonigals.com. So go right now while you're listening online and pick up those tickets. And you are listening to Wide Open Spaces. I'm Susan here with you for another 40 minutes or so. We're so happy to have you guys here today. That's beautiful. Now, another song that'll be featured on Birds Fly South, your upcoming CD that'll be out as we have broken the news on New West this spring. And now, the name of the CD, Birds Fly South, autobiographical. I understand that you really that you actually do fly south each winter.
We hadn't even written that song when we drove down here, and I think we kind of I had the idea. I was like, well, we're sort of like migratory birds. But I think that really hit home. We had got to my parents' place, and they live in the hill country, and we were sitting there, and that was about the time the big blizzard hit New York. And I think I was sitting in the living room in a pair of shorts. I was like, yeah, we're in the right place. and we went out on their patio and wrote that song. Again, that one just sort of fell in our lap in about a half hour. So.
Well,
Yeah.
that's great, and it's a wonderful. I mean, we all understand if you've ever been in, as much as I love New York, when it gets to be about February or March, I'm like, okay, well, I know it's really pretty down in Texas. There's about 3 feet of snow, and it hasn't melted yet in New York, but it's really pretty down in Texas. It's a good time to be down here.
And they don't plow our streets. We live in Brooklyn. I mean, Bloomberg Street gets plowed, but ours don't. So it can get pretty messy in our neighborhood.
No, I prefer to think of it as organic. Well, we're glad y'all are down here. Now, how long do y'all usually stay down here during the winter? Just a couple of weeks?
We'll come down and see our families over the holidays, and then try to get around to Texas shows. And
About a month this time.
Yeah, that's great.
yeah,
And you mentioned you're going to be back for South by again this year?
we will.
Because this will be right before the release of the CD, so
Yeah.
I hope y'all will swing back through Houston
Yeah.
on that round, so that we'll look for y'all in March, if not sooner. But now, Steve Earle, y'all have been really busy this past year touring with Steve Earle, and you mentioned that you introduced Steve to Steve Christensen, which is pretty cool. How did you get to know Steve Earle?
I met Steve at a festival in Australia 10 or 11 years ago. And we met through a mutual friend, Stephen Bruton, and he had, he's sort of he was the common friend there, and that's how Steve Earle and I got to know each other. It was just talking about Bruton. And we've just remained friends ever since. And it had kind of been known. Steve had done he'd done towns in Washington Square, so he'd been solo for a while. But he'd mentioned a few years ago, it's like when I fire the Dukes back up, I'd love for you to be a part of it. And so I'd kind of known that was coming. I didn't realize how perfect it was going to be. He exceeded my expectations in inviting Eleanor out to play in the band. So
To be a Duchess?
yeah, that was. And Eleanor, and when we started dating, I already knew Stephen Allison, obviously, so we kind of all became friends, and so in another sort of organic instance, Eleanor started playing with Allison.
Yeah.
So it just became a musical family.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were lucky enough to see Steve Earle when they came through town, well, the Mastersons were there, very much featured. What was the homecoming like, being part of a show here, and when you've played so many gigs in so many other different ways?
Houston was fun. It's really fun.
Homecomings, well, the first thing you have to do is turn your cell phone off. Because people will come out of the woodwork, people you haven't talked to in 5 or 10 years.
Sure.
And, so the guest list is usually full.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
So I usually leave my phone in the bus, and
Or just leave it in the last city.
but it's always fun. I mean, we love coming to Houston. I mean, there's so many friends. It's so many friends to see. We're actually hanging around tomorrow, and so I'll get to see some people while I'm here. So.
Well, that's pretty exciting. And any more, I mean, you're going to be pretty busy with the new album coming out, but any more Steve Earle touring coming up in the future?
Our first date that's confirmed, and there could be stuff that comes up before this,
Sure.
is Jazz Fest.
Oh, that's great.
So we'll be hitting some festivals this summer, and so there'll be a fair amount of Steve dates and some Masterson's dates as well.
Well, wonderful. Well, we are so glad that you have a date here tonight at the Mucky Duck. It's for a show that starts at 7:30, and again, McGonicals.com is the website to visit. How about, can y'all play